Last week we had Jesus predicting making his first prediction of his passion, of his suffering, and death, and the disciples liked it so little that Peter rebuked him. And in turn, Jesus rebuked Peter. "Get behind me, Satan, for you are not on the side of God, but men." Now this week, we have Jesus making his second prediction of the Passion, and you're not getting the same reaction, but you're getting something that's equally unacceptable to Jesus. They're not reacting the way Jesus hopes that they will. The disciples are too much on the side of the world and men and not on the side of God. So let me ask you a question here. Are you a winner? Are you one of those people that divide the world into two groups, winners and losers? Are you one of those people who doesn't care about how many people you walk on to get what you want as long as you get it? Because Jesus is rejecting that entire approach. That Jesus does not see the world in terms of winners and losers. He sees the world the way God sees the world. And Jesus and his disciples were coming into Capernaum, and as they enter the house where they would be staying, he asks his disciples, "What were you arguing about on the road?" Because he knows they're worrying about the wrong thing. And they kept quiet because on the way they had argued about who was first among them. Now, look, when people get really anxious, it makes them do all sorts of nutty things. When I get more and more anxious, I'll start stuffing. That's why you have to keep the chocolate away from me at those times. And so some people will stuff things into their mouths, and other people will start talking about really, really silly things. And Jesus understands this. The disciples are being really childish. They're arguing over something silly. Who will be first among them? And what they're showing is that they're human beings. What they're showing is that they can bicker and gossip and carry on all sorts of silly conversation, just like all of us can too. They can react to anxiety the way we do. Some ambition is a good thing. And that's not what I'm preaching against this morning. Some ambition is a good thing. I mean, Abraham Lincoln, as a boy, studying in front of a fire every night, would say to himself, "I will study and get ready, and perhaps my chance will come." And he wanted to be ready for it. And then as an adult, he would lose something like 17 elections before he won one. Michelangelo is said to have prayed, "Lord, grant that I may always desire more than I can accomplish." Well, that's not a bad prayer. It's not a bad thing to have some ambition. But the disciples were human beings, and they simply wanted their names to be prominent. They wanted to stand out. And where you start to get in trouble with that is, how does it lead you to treat other people? That's what Jesus is so concerned about. He wants them to be ambitious in the right way for the right reasons. And he told them, if you want to be first, you must be the last and servant of all. And the people who are talking about this most, and who are writing books about it, are some of the leaders in business today. That Stephen Covey talks like this. And I wish I could pull some of the other names out of my head, but there are many business leaders who really understand if you want to succeed in business, you must be a servant. You must serve people and help them with what they need. Now, St. Gregory of Nyssa added a few choice lines to this. He wrote, "Let vanity be unknown to you. Let simplicity and harmony and a guileless attitude weld the community together. Let each remind himself that he is subordinate not only to the brother at his side, but to all. And if he knows this, he will truly be a disciple of Christ. That we're here to be servants one to another. Gregory is right. Jesus is right. If you want to be great, you have to learn to serve. But what exactly does it mean to be a servant? Because, today, service is not what most people aspire to. I think almost every other teenager I talk to wants to be a rock star. And that's not about service, is it? Now, some of you may remember this famous experiment that was conducted at Princeton a few years ago. 20 theology students were picked to go to a recording studio and make a tape recording of their interpretation of the parable of the Good Samaritan. Okay, you guys show up at the recording studio, and we're going to record everything you say, and maybe broadcast live too. So you want to do your homework on this. And they were told, and then there was a second group of 20 students who were told to go to the same recording studio. And what they were told they were going to be doing would be participating in a career study program. They were going to be talking about their future careers. They were going to be interviewed on the radio. And they should be prepared to talk about their concept of ministry. And then unknown to both groups, a professional actor was hired to do a little acting. And as the students proceeded to the studio, the actor would be there along the way, and as each one passed, he was to grab his heart and go, "Oh, this is a big one," and collapse. And they wanted to see what the theology students would do. Amazingly, 60% went right by. Some were even seen stepping right over the body to keep their appointments at the recording studio. It was observed in a magazine that some who were planning their dissertation on the Good Samaritan literally stepped over the slumped body as they hurried along. So you find yourself wondering, where is the servant's heart? Where is this concern for the other? And there's this wonderful line from a comedian who was mugged, and he was interviewed afterwards, and he was asked, "Why didn't you fight back?" And he said, I started to, but I decided not to get involved. And see, this is where I think it begins, is this, we don't want to get involved. We want to avoid all those intense emotional entanglements. And this is where we have to remind ourselves what Jesus taught us. Jesus and St. Gregory, that we are servant of all, subordinate to all. And I want you to understand, I do understand sometimes these are not as clear-cut as you might think. This week I've had, I don't know, 4 or 5 conversations on the phone with people who are about to be evicted. The economy is hitting home on the coast, and all sorts of people are having a very bad time financially. And one woman called me and said, "Well, this older couple, they're about to be thrown out. Can you help?" And I said, "Okay, come over and I'll see what we can do." So Marie and I got to work on a check, and I handed it over. And then the next day I was called and said, "Oh no, this isn't going to work because so-and-so who was going to put in $200 can't do it now."